Hi, I'm Jerry. My handle on Instagram is Sith Scorch. I'm fairly new to the whole vinyl community, but I saw this video from Dylan with the 20 questions vinyl tag quarantine edition, and I decided that seemed like a something I could do. I've never made one of these videos, so please, be kind in your comments. So I'll just get right to it. First one says, favorite record from your home state or city? Uh, that'll have to be Mr. Tom Petty. My home state is Florida. I'm not from Gainesville. I'm not a Gator fan. Sorry. But I do like Tom Petty. This is a great album. And unfortunately, it's the only one I have right now. I plan to get more. An album you highly recommend. M83. Hurry Up, We're Dreaming. I love this album. This is fantastic. Um, I first found out about them. I know I'm a little bit late on that also, but through a commercial and through movie trailers, I kept hearing the outro song, and I was like, "Who is that? I need to find that." And of course, I looked them up and bought the album, and I have not been disappointed. A tip for a beginner. Uh, I would say don't overpay, and you might get caught up in the hype or in the moment. You finally found this album, but if you think it's too much, if you don't feel comfortable with it, you don't want to have that buyer's remorse later on. Just be patient. I found that you will find them eventually. I know that more and more people are getting into vinyl, but there's still a lot of records out there. So don't feel like you have to overpay for something because you won't ever really enjoy it that way. First record that really got you into deeper music. This one I've got kind of a tie. Um, the first one I thought of was Bee Gees' First. I picked this one up just because obviously I knew the name Bee Gees, and although I'm not a huge disco fan, I mean I like the Bee Gees, but this was an early one, and I was like, and it was super cheap, and I picked it up, and boy was I pleasantly surprised. This is not disco, and I was like, wow, I never knew. First off, I didn't even know that Bee Gees were around before the 70s. That's how naive I was. Um, so once I found out, that they were doing different stuff, then that just meant that other groups could be doing different stuff too. So I really just started digging and finding and exploring more. And the tie is when I found this one, and this was actually a recommendation from a YouTube video. Um, it, I don't want to say which one it was. I'm mixed up between who featured it, but um, once I was able to pick this up, I picked this up in Florida on vacation, and I really enjoyed it, and I was like, wow, there's some really good psych out there, and I like this, so I just want to keep on looking for more. Number 5, an obscure record people may not know about. Okay, I know I've seen this. That's how I found out about it on YouTube through Dylan's page, or it could be Dots and Loops. That's the same thing with Frigid Pink. I think that's who it was I was thinking about. And this is United States of America. They they're psych and they're experimental, and I think this is their only album as far as I know, if I remember correctly. Um, and I had never heard of them, and They're older, but I really like them. I dig them. So if you can find one, go ahead and pick it up. You won't be disappointed with that either. Let's see. A group number 6. A group you who you collect all of their albums or try to. That I'm in the second category here. Obviously, the I'm trying to. That will have to be this group. You may have heard of them. They've been around a little while. Got a couple hits. This is a pretty cool album I picked up. I never even knew anything about it until I started looking for more. And obviously you see the Dark Side of the Moon, you see the Wall, um, but they're getting harder to come by. It seems like anymore. But once I saw this and saw that wasn't a knockoff or a tribute band, it was really a compilation. I was like, yeah, I gotta have it. Number 7, a band whose second album is better than their first. I'm going to go ahead and go with Bruce Springsteen. The This second album, I mean, I enjoy Greetings from Asbury Park, uh, but that's kind of it was a more of a storyteller, which he's always a storyteller. But um, this one I think I enjoy more, and I can listen to a lot more than Greetings. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. I think I saw it in a Rolling Stone article actually. Um, okay, Whack-A-Mole. I'm just going to, let's see, I'll reach back here. These are not alphabetized. These are alphabetized here. There is a method to my madness. I understand your pain, Dylan. So I'm just going to pick something. What do we got? Elton John. Friends. That's the soundtrack to Friends. And actually, I don't think I've listened to this yet. I picked it up because it says Elton John on it. And it was super cheap. I think I got it in a collection or something. I wasn't looking for that one, but so I'll need to listen to this one now. I'll put that in my pile over here to listen to. Um, I'm going to listen to all of these, and once the ones I'm not going to listen to, which there's some there in the back, way back that I know I'm not going to. I'm just going to get rid of those. So they were given to me, so it's not like I bought those, but I have bought a couple collections, which is how I got so many so quickly. What album have you listened to the most in your life? Now this is kind of tricky for me. It was I'm not exactly sure. I'm not one to have all those memories, I guess, connected with a certain album, but I think some of the albums that I probably have listened to, they're more on CD or tape, and I don't have the album, so I was deciding to just stick with albums that I own, is the way I wanted to do this. So these, technically, probably not the ones I've listened to the most. And I went ahead and picked 2 because I wasn't sure. And um, Western Stars from Bruce Springsteen. This album, I love this album. I'm not a big country fan, and I knew that this was going to have a country, feel to it, but I knew it was also Bruce Springsteen, and I love his work, so I was like, I gotta get it. And once I heard a couple of the songs that he released, the singles, on the radio, I pre-ordered it right away and got it as soon as it came out, and I started playing it. I mean, there was days I played it more than once, um, and I played it at least once a week for probably a couple months after that. And the tie for this one, from albums, I'm saying, would be 21 Pilots, Blurry Face. This I was exposed to actually through my daughters, who they said, "Hey, have you heard this song?" And I listened to it, and I was like, "Wow, I really like that," And they loved it, and so I went ahead and I picked up the album. And the more I listened to it, I became a bigger fan of 21 Pilots than they are. and I think I still am today. They've moved on to somebody else, but this album is fantastic. And of course, I went and got several of the others after that. But so let's see, number 10, show an album with a crazy story. Okay, I wasn't sure what he meant with the crazy story. I don't know a lot of history on, like a lot of you guys do. You know all the obscure facts and who the members are and who had an accident and things like that. I don't have all that information. I'm learning. Like I said, I'm still fairly new at this. But for my crazy story, what I picked was um, a while back was my aunt's 80th birthday, and my sister-in-law was going to be the one that was going to decorate for the party, and uh, she asked her, she knew her dad had a bunch of albums out in the garage that he wasn't doing anything with, and she asked if she could have some of those albums to decorate for the party, and which she did. And then he said, you could just take the whole tub, which that's this tub right here. It's not the same albums that were in there. Like I said, I've used it to alphabetize now, but this tub was full of albums, and they didn't want any of them. They picked out a couple, and they used them for decoration and actually printed off. I know this is gonna make some people cringe, and it made me cringe. Believe me. Um, they picked out groups that my sister-in-law and my brother had no idea who they were or whatever, and they printed labels, happy birthday, happy 80th birthday, and put it over the album, and uh, and use those for decorations, put them up on the wall and put them on the tables and things like that. And anyway, the long story short, or short story long at this point, the one of the albums that was in the whole um, tub, in this tub, was this album. And you see that original master recording? That caught my eye too. And like I said, I'm still fairly new at this point. I mean, even newer. And I was like, well, I recognize Eric Clapton. I didn't know who John Mayall was. Um, so I looked it up, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see what this album was going for, and to see that it was very loved. And the crazy part about this story was that my brother and sister-in-law gave me the entire tub of albums and did not want any money for it. They're like, no, just take it. We don't want to clutter up anything, and there's nothing in there we want. So that was nice. Let's see. Collecting pet peeve. Okay. One of my pet peeves, I try not to get caught up in all that. I would say, this is silly, but I mean, I know Dylan had a whole video on it. One of them is the whole vinyl and plural vinyls. That that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why you would say that. I know I don't want to get into it, but you know, I've seen the arguments one way and the other. Um, that's not anything. Like, I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to correct you, uh, unless you're somebody that I really know and I love. And you know, say I don't think you want to say it that way, but anyway, um, the biggest pet peeve though would be going into a store. I love to, if I'm traveling somewhere, I always want to try to go into a record store if at all possible while I'm there. And so my biggest pet peeve is finally getting a chance to go in a new city and go to a record store. I may only have an hour, if that, sometimes less than that, to look around. And you go in, and they've got great records, but they're all overpriced. There's no way I'm going to pay the prices that they're asking. And I'm like, this is such a bummer because this is like the only time I get to go, and you're asking, 10 bucks on Herb Alpert and, Barbara Streisand. It's like, come on, really? Have you looked around? So that's probably my biggest pet peeve if I have one, which obviously I do. An album or genre people would be surprised to know that you like. I was kind of struggled on this. I had to ask my wife what she thought. People might be surprised about. Um, and I guess we came up with classical. Um, this obviously it's the music from the Nutcracker Suite, and this is beautiful, beautiful music. And I think you should really open. That's one of my things. I would say that'd be another actually tip for a beginner. I should have thought of that. Would be don't box yourself in. Allow yourself to explore. Allow yourself to experiment. Especially, I mean, the go to the dollar bin and dig around. If something catches your eye, it's only $1. It's only $2. Go ahead and pick it up. That's cheaper than you can buy a song on iTunes. Um, Pick it up, and I guarantee you, if you allow yourself to really open your mind and open your ears, you will grow, you will mature in music, and you will find that there's a lot of beautiful music out there in all kinds of genres and sounds and taste. So I have, I feel like I've missed out on so much when I was younger. I boxed myself in and I only listened to, one or two different kinds of things. And I knew about these other groups, but I never gave them a chance. And I found that I'm like, wow, I've been missing out. It's like I lost so much time. I could have been enjoying this music for years and decades at this point. So don't box yourself in. Speaking of decades, that's going to be the next one, which is a record from the year you were born. I was blessed. Born in 1968. Look that up. There were a lot of good albums that came out, and I just happened to pick this one just because I was trying to pick something a little bit different. I could have picked some of the others that or are the obvious choices, Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that, Beatles. But Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. This was this was really a very pleasant buy, and I've enjoyed this one several times. Uh, this is a great album, and I mean I don't have to tell anybody. I mean it's Johnny Cash. Come on, and I've got several of his albums. He's somebody that I never listened to when I was younger, and I just I knew a couple songs, and then you start picking them up, and then you're like, wow, I like these songs that are not even the hits way better than his hits. So just just allow yourself to explore. Number 14, we are show a 10-inch record. Okay, I don't have too many 10-inch records, and I just don't. I prefer to get. This is one that I have. I think I have two or three new ones. I've got the 21 Pilots. There was they released their three singles on it, um, and this Mumford and Sons, which is, I guess they would probably classify this under world music. And this was really this was good. I like this. I like Mumford and Sons. This is not like any of their other stuff, and I don't mind that a bit. This is really good. So 10 inches, I don't have that big an opinion one way or the other. I mean, like I said, I'll pick it up if it's something or somebody that I'm interested in, um, but I don't actively seek them. I'm not big OCD, but they don't fit well with the rest of it. It just kind of throws things off. Um, but I don't know. I don't have a big opinion on it. Okay, share an interesting fact about an album or song. Like I said, I don't know all the obscure stuff. I don't know about this guy broke a leg when he was recording this or whatever. Um, But this one, this will be an obscure one. This is a gospel album, and this is the way it came because it was privately pressed, I guess. Uh, the interesting thing is that I I obtained this from a friend of mine, a brother in Christ, who I go to church with. His father um, formed this quartet, and they did a cappella songs, hymnals, and he had several of these. I helped him clean out his garage. He knew I was into records, and he's like, "Here, you want one of these?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so it's really good too. I mean, for a cappella hymns, they're very good, and they really. I mean, I guess if they'd had uh, some marketing or whatever, they may have been able to do more with it. But um, that's what I came up with. Okay, 16. Show an album with an animal on the cover. How about that? Santana. First thing you see is the lion. Well, you look a little bit more and you see a whole lot more, don't you? So if you don't, just pick up your own copy and just really stare at it. Uh, you'll see a lot more. And I love stuff like that. I love art like that, where at first you see one thing and then there's a whole lot more. Uh, so anyway, animal, lion. Okay. Show an album with crazy artwork. We have The Happenings, Peace of Mind. This is one I actually got from Dylan from Noble Records on opening day. I was one of the few, well, not few, there was several of us there. Um, and it caught my eye. I didn't know anything about it. It was a good price. And unfortunately, I mean, yes, it's okay. It's not my best buy. I actually messed up because I had this one in my hand and I had Love in my hand, and Love was a little bit more expensive, and I went with this one, and I regret it to this day. So anyway, I guess I'll have to try and keep looking for Love. No pun intended. Okay, where are we? Number 18. Show a really good album that you can find for cheap. Okay, we have the soundtrack to Eddie and the Cruisers by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. This has some great songs on it. This is really good. I was pleased. And a friend of mine who found out I was an album's a friend from work, she was asking me, she's like, "Hey, have you ever listened to?" Because we were talking about movies and music and stuff. And she goes, "You ever listen to the soundtrack to Eddie and the Cruise?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "You need to find that." So I looked for it. I found it, and I mean, you can get this. I looked on Discogs right before turning this video on. It's like $3. I mean, that's ridiculous. I think I paid five, but still, I mean, that's cheap and it's decent. Okay, we are album with an acquired taste. This one, this is Brittany Howard. The first time I heard it, I listened to it. I bought it brand new because I like her and I love uh, Alabama Shakes. And so I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna check this out and get her album." And so I picked it up, and the first time I put it on, I was like really disappointed. I was like, "Man, this stinks." But my wife convinced me. She's like, "No, just listen to it again." And she goes, "I kind of liked it." So I put it back on again, and it started to grow on me. And I let it sit for a little while, and I don't know, probably about a month or so later, I put it back on again. And at that time, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I do get it now." So it's grown on me, and I've listened to it a few more times since then. So sorry, I didn't like it right at the first time. Sorry, Brittany, but it's grown on me. And your most recent find actually came in today. Of course, since or none of the record shops are open or anything, but there was a place, some of the record shops are having auctions, and I found one last week. I was having an auction, and the only one I was able to win was this one. And it came in today, and I got to listen to it today. And this was nice. This was a good purchase. I like this. Jaco Pastorius. Uh, this is I got a fair price. I didn't overpay, but I didn't get a fantastic deal. But I'm definitely going to listen to this some more, and I like that a lot. And I'm going to check out some more of his work. So anyway, those are my choices. I hope I did okay. Like I said, be kind in the comments, and I'll see you around. Thank you. Thanks for watching.